Hello everyone. So in the previous video we understood that thyroid is a way more complex problem than it is generally understood as. Only if we understand all the interconnections we have any hope of solving this problem. Now the first step towards solving the problem is to do a full proper comprehensive panel of testing. So which are the tests that we need to do? The fundamental requirement is TSH, total T4, total T3, free T3, reverse T3, and the two antibodies, anti-TPO and anti-TG. This is the basic minimum required for us to understand at which point there is a problem. Is it production of T4? Is it conversion of T4 to T3? Is there too much of reverse T3 being produced in the body? Is there autoimmunity which is damaging the entire process, right? In addition to all of these tests, we should also be doing a nutritional panel to check for deficiencies of the required ingredients like iron, zinc, iodine, selenium, vitamins, etc. Also, we should be checking for inflammation and heavy metal toxicities, and also other halogens, as I said, chlorine, fluorine, etc. Because all of these can have an impact on the effectiveness, either the production or the conversion of the thyroid hormones. So let us break this down into small parts so it's easy to understand. So which is the first problem? Let us say the first most common problem is T4 levels are low. What are the drivers of low T4? First, as we looked at, are deficiencies. If raw material is not available, production will not happen, right? What are the raw materials? Iodine, very, very important. Selenium is required. Protein is required. These can be low for a variety of reasons. For example, protein can be low simply because we are not consuming enough protein. Our diet is mostly focused on carbohydrates, grains, etc. Or it can also be low if our digestion is weak. The body is not able to digest the food and absorb enough protein from the food. And obviously, autoimmune activity can damage the gland, resulting in lower production of T4. The next common problem is poor conversion of T4 to T3. As I said, this is seldom checked. This is seldom, diagnosed. Once again, raw material availability can impact this. What are the raw materials required? Selenium, zinc, iron, and vitamin A. Any of these, if they are low, the conversion will not happen properly. Poor kidney or liver health has a big impact on the conversion because these are the two main organs which convert T4 into T3 for systemic usage to be used across the body. Inflammation. Systemic inflammation can impair the conversion of T4 to T3. And as I had mentioned earlier, toxins like heavy metals, lead, cadmium, mercury, etc. can hamper the conversion process. Low amount of free T4. This is not total T4. Remember, free T4. This can become low mainly because of stress. The stress can be psychological. It can even be physiological. If your body is struggling internally with something, it could be struggling with, let's say, chronic infection. Simmering infection, we don't really see the outward symptoms of an infection, but the immune system is not able to completely get rid of the problem. In such a situation, T4 production, the availability of free T4 can go down. Not production, I'm sorry. Also very common for women is estrogen dominance. If estrogen hormone is high in the body, the amount of free T4 reduces. Another interesting dynamic is reverse T3. If reverse T3 levels are high, the effective T3 will become low. What are the reasons? First most important reason is stress. You can check this by checking your adrenaline or cortisol levels also. The stress could be caused by any kind of trauma or injury also. Type 2 diabetes is a driver of high reverse T3. Inflammation increases reverse T3 production. Severe caloric restriction, severe dieting can impact this. High alcohol intake, any kind of food allergies or sensitivities. Very common sensitivities are today to gluten and dairy products. They can increase the amount of reverse T3 production in the body. Also, certain types of drugs can increase the amount of RT3 in the body. Specifically certain beta blockers and corticosteroids. And as we have understood, right, the autoimmunity can play a huge role in hypothyroidism. What are the reasons behind autoimmunity? The most important reason is intestinal permeability, also known as a leaky gut, which again is generally driven most commonly by food sensitivities to gluten and to dairy products. Also, certain medications like steroids, NSAIDs, OCPs can create this problem. These autoimmune dysfunctions can also be triggered by chronic simmering infections, which can be bacterial, fungal, or viral reactivation. Also, insufficient nutrition for the immune system, specifically zinc, vitamin A, and vitamin D. So I hope you realize that all these things that I have mentioned fall into the same 4 categories: lack of nutrition, stress, toxins, and autoimmunity. When we want to reverse hypothyroidism, the first step always should be to start working on stress, because our thyroid gland responds very, very acutely to any kind of stress. Unless this is in place, the other interventions that you bring about in your diet and other changes may also not have complete impact. So start with the basics. Work on relaxation, proper sleep, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, gratitude journaling. If needed, work with a practitioner, work with a professional who can help you through this process. The next step is to work on ensuring proper availability of nutrients, both for the production of T4 as well as the conversion into T3. For the production of T4, we need selenium, iodine, and protein. For conversion into T3, the body requires selenium, iron, zinc, vitamin A mainly, and a few other things including the B complex vitamins. Ensuring proper availability of all these nutrients will go a long way in ensuring better functioning of your thyroid gland. The next very important step is to check and address toxicity in the body. This toxicity can be in many forms. For example, heavy metals like lead, cadmium, mercury, etc. can cause toxicity and impair the functioning of the thyroid gland. Now, mercury, for example, is a very common toxin that comes into our body through the dental fillings. Traditionally, we have been doing these so-called silver fillings, which almost half of that filling is actually mercury. And this mercury keeps on leaching, tiny amounts keep on leaching into the body and start poisoning the body slowly. Another category of very powerful toxins for the functioning of the thyroid gland are the halogens, which are basically the chemicals in the iodine family, right? Chlorine, fluorine, bromine. It's also important to ensure that we are not taking in these toxins, and also work on detoxifying them if required. What are the common sources? So for example, chlorine can come even through our tap water. Okay, many municipalities are actually adding chlorine to ensure that the harmful bacteria etc. are killed. But this chlorine is also causing problems to our health. Another very common source of chlorine is swimming pools. Again, chlorine is added through bleaching powder to ensure that there is no infection that can spread through the water. Most disease-causing organisms will get killed because of this chlorine. But the problem is that our skin is very, 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 very good at absorbing this. In functional medicine, we say that the skin is like a huge mouth. Whatever you don't put in the mouth, you should also not put on the skin. So if you're swimming in a chlorinated pool, you need to consider moving to an unchlorinated pool, and also take up measures with which you can start removing chlorine more effectively from the body. Fluorine, a very, very powerful chemical. The most common source is toothpaste, fluoridated toothpaste. Once again, it was put there for some benefit, but the damage it is causing is probably outweighing the benefit for a lot of us. So consider switching to a non-fluoridated toothpaste. And the last one, bromine. Many times it can come through bromated flours. These pre-packaged atta flours that we buy from the market, many of them have added bromine. So once again, if somebody is suffering from thyroid issues, they must ensure that they're consuming flour which is not bromated. If autoimmunity is present, then it is important for us to understand that autoimmunity almost always starts in the gut, in the digestive system. So there are certain common triggers which we need to remove from our diets if the autoimmunity has to settle down and the immune system has to start behaving normally again. The two most important things are dairy products, milk and milk products, and wheat products because of gluten allergy or sensitivity. Just removing these two items, many people have found that substantial part of their thyroid problem is gone in a few months' time. So the thing that we need to do is to completely remove dairy and wheat, but also for a period of time remove all other grains. Why this is needed is because once the food sensitivity has come into the system, if it is left unaddressed, after a period of time the body starts becoming sensitive to many other things in the same family. So if it is sensitive to one grain, a chemical in a particular grain, this sensitivity can extend to other grains which have similar chemicals. So it is very important to remove all grains from your diet for a period of time, at least for a couple of months. You should see substantial improvement in your thyroid function. It is best you can work with somebody who knows how to handle these things. In the functional medicine system, there is a protocol known as the elimination diet. This is a very simple, very effective tool to address autoimmunity. And one last thing about autoimmunity is to ensure that the fundamental nutrients that the immune system thrives on are in the upper third of the reference ranges. The three most important ingredients are zinc, vitamin A and vitamin D. You have to ensure very good level of these supplements or these nutrients in the body. I hope all this information will really help you overcome your thyroid problem and live a much healthier and productive life. Thank you. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.